Welcome to the Mystic Media channel. I'm your host, Rabina Rastavan, aka the Realist Astrologer. And tonight I'm doing part 2 on my video special about Chris Brown. So part 2 is going to deal with his relationships, both of the tumultuous relationships that he was in with Rihanna and Karrueche. So let me get into his synastry with Rihanna first. Now, as I said in part 1, Chris Brown has some aspects that point to his abusive tendencies, his bad temper, him being over emotional. And just to recap, I said that his Mars in Cancer is opposing his Uranus in Capricorn, and that causes him to have an explosive temper. Because his Mars is in Cancer, he is ruled by his emotions, so his emotions dictate his actions. And he also has Sun opposition Pluto. That could be a difficult aspect, especially when dealing with relationships, because it can cause someone to be obsessed, it can lead to abuse, and it can deal with power struggles. Also, he has Mars in semi-square to the moon, and that can deal with him having issues with women. Always there's some type of conflict or upset with women, but because his Mars is in Cancer, he can't leave women alone. He always has to have a woman. And he also has Mars conjoined to Chiron in Cancer, and that can make him feel kind of insecure about his manhood, also his sexuality. Mars opposition Uranus can point to him being afraid of being perceived as being gay or bi or being soft or weak. So basically he's overcompensating for that Mars and Cancer conjoined to Chiron. That can even point to possibly sexual abuse in his early days, and that could have really screwed his head up in terms of how he relates to women sexually, and also just how he feels as a man. Now, I don't believe that Chris Brown is down low, bisexual, or gay, or anything like that. I believe that he is straight, but I do believe that he has some issues with his sexuality, his ability to perform at times, and also he might be a little bit insecure about his penis size as well. Now, when I put Rihanna and Chris Brown's chart together, it is pretty bad. So I'm not surprised that they were in that abusive relationship, and I'm not surprised that they broke up and actually got back together as well. Most of the aspects they have are challenging. They have very few positive aspects between their personal planets. So basically, I'm just going to talk about the challenges that I see between the two of them. His Mercury's in Gemini, which can give him mouth with no filter. So basically, he's prone to say whatever is on his mind. So his Mercury in Gemini is in square to her Sun in Pisces. So Rihanna was born on, where is she at? Rihanna was born on February 20th, 1988. And Chris Brown was born on May 5th, 1989. So they are very close in age. And the problem with that is, when you date someone that's very close in age to you, when it comes to those outer planets, there's a good chance that the one person's outer planets is going to be making similar aspects or the same aspects to the person's personal planets, simply because those outer planets take a long time to move through the signs. So this is exactly what happened between Chris Brown and Rihanna. So check this out. So when I put their two charts together, but let me go back to that Mercury square, his Mercury square, her Sun, because I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So that basically is him getting frustrated with her because of her secretive and mysterious nature. So if you know anything about Pisces, Pisces can be very secretive. They can be very nebulous in terms of their life in general. And this is him being frustrated because at times he just can't figure her out. And this can also deal with her getting the attention and adoration from a bunch of men. Also, his Sun is in square to her Mercury in Aquarius. Now, if you know anything about Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign that really lacks a filter as well. So Mercury in Aquarius, oftentimes you're prone to be brutally honest because Aquarius is all about truth. So with his Sun in square to her Mercury in Aquarius, more than likely her mouth was out of control, and she knew how to hit him where it would really hurt his self-esteem, because his sun is in Taurus, and Taurus is about self-esteem. Also, Mercury in Aquarius makes her quite independent, even though she's a Pisces. So she's very independent. She has an independent mindset. And that doesn't work very well with Taurus, because Taurus likes to dominate and possess and control the situation. And Taurus and Aquarius, they just clash naturally. And also, he probably didn't like the fact that, she would change her mind and switch up and things like that, because Aquarius is prone to change. And she would change abruptly as well, because Aquarius is about sudden change. Also, his sun was in sesqui square to her Saturn. That's basically him getting in trouble with the law on account of her following that report. And he turned himself in. Saturn deals with punishment. It also deals with discipline. That his sun in sesqui square to her Saturn can also deal with her career being impacted by that abuse and whatnot. But that actually helped her to propel forward even more. But that kind of damaged his reputation, and his identity was called into question, which is exactly what this his sun in sesqui square to her Saturn can deal with. So now, the two aspects that I spoke about in his chart are actually repeated in their synastry. So Chris Brown's sun is in opposition to Rihanna's Pluto, and his Mars is in opposition to Rihanna's Uranus. So these are the aspects that he has in his natal chart. So whenever you see that in a synastry, whenever you see aspects that are repeated from a person's natal chart, you know that basically they are stepping into the exact relationship profile challenges that they were born with. So this is going to be a relationship where it's very hard for him to grow, and it's going to be hard for her to grow as well. So with his Mars in opposition to her Uranus, that's him getting upset whenever she tries to be too independent, whenever she wants to change up or, change up her mode of operation. He doesn't do well when she tries to, assert her own will. So that right there, and also that's a aspect that can lead to sudden breakup. So it could have been situations where she threatened to break up with him, and then he gets angry and he starts to become abusive. Also, his sun being in opposition to her Pluto, that's him being very jealous, very obsessive, abusive even, and him wanting to, or him feeling like he's powerless in the face of this relationship, or in this relationship with her, because she is the one, since it's her Pluto, that is wielding more power over him. And a lot of times when somebody feels powerless, they are prone to become abusive and lash out. So that's very telling. And like I said, the reason why his sun is opposing her Pluto and his Mars is opposing her Uranus is because of the time that they were born. They were born pretty close in proximity, only within a little more than a year of each other. And so basically he's just repeating the same problems that are inherent in his natal chart. So it's almost impossible for him to grow in this relationship. So it makes sense why it didn't work out between the two of them. And the crazy thing is, Chris Brown and Karrueche have the same aspects. So Chris Brown's sun is in opposition to Karrueche's Pluto, and Chris Brown's Mars is in opposition to Karrueche's Uranus. So the same aspects that he has in his natal chart is being repeated in this relationship with Karrueche as well. So no wonder why Karrueche is saying that Chris Brown abused her too, and that she can actually testify and provide evidence that he did that. He's basically denying it, and recently a video was put out where he's saying that he's not the one that's obsessed or stalking them. They're actually stalking him. Now, I do believe that it's kind of a mutual codependent relationship that both him and Rihanna and Chris Brown and Karrueche had, but I would tend to believe it's Chris Brown, he's the one that tends to go crazy. He's the one that tends to lose it in these relationships with both of these women. So hopefully Chris Brown is done with both of them completely, because it's not good for either relationship is not good for his well-being. It's not good for his spiritual growth. And they also have similar aspects as well. Both of the synastry charts have similar aspects, like Chris Brown's sun in sesqui square to both of their Saturns. Chris Brown's sun is in sesqui square to both of their Uranus, and his Venus is in sesqui square to both of their Neptunes. His Mars is in opposition to both of their Saturns, and his Mars is in opposition to both of their Neptunes. So Mars opposition Neptune in particular can deal with you getting into a situation where it's hard to see your way out. It's like you lose yourself and you might lose your mind for a minute. You know, a lot of us have been in relationships like that, and it could be because the sex is so good or because the person's so romantic. So with Neptune can bring the element of romance, and it can bring that dreamy fantasy feeling. So for Chris Brown, Rihanna and Karrueche, they're like his fantasy girls, but in the process, he easily got caught up, he easily lost his mind, and he couldn't even think straight, and that's due to that Neptune influence. So yeah, he had it bad. And the thing is, with Mars and Cancer, especially conjoined to Chiron, it's very easy to get into relationships that mirror each other, because Cancer is a mirroring sign. So Cancer rather deal with what's familiar instead of what's different, what's new, what have you. So Cancer is very prone to dating people that have similarities or the relationships parallel. So that can explain a lot of why he got into these relationships with these women where the synastry is very similar. Also, with his Mercury in Gemini and it's conjoined to Jupiter in Gemini, that produces a duplication effect as well. So he really has it bad. So I'm not surprised. I won't be surprised if the next relationship he gets in has some of the same aspects or similar aspects as his natal chart and also as the synastry with these exes that he has. So my advice to Chris Brown would be, you need to find or date women that are much younger than you are, either much younger or much older. With the energy that he's working with, he would do much better with a woman that is much younger because he has control issues. So he would be able to wield more control over the one, or I should say, he would be able to wield more control in a relationship with a younger woman than a woman that's either his age or that is older than him. So that's part 2 on my video about Chris Brown. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please feel free to add any information, any insight you might have. But after looking at his chart, I kind of like Chris Brown a little bit more because it's like now I can see the rhyme and reason behind his bad temper and his need to always be in some type of conflict and his need to assert his manhood. I understand after looking at his chart, and I feel kind of bad for him because, like I said before, he lacks a lot of self-control. So when he goes off like that, a lot of times he doesn't even realize how bad things can get until he's in the thick of it. So I hope Chris Brown can get some help, and I hope that, you know, the worst is behind him. Now, the problem is he has his Saturn return coming up. Saturn return is when transiting Saturn lands on your natal Saturn. So that's not going to happen for him until 2019. So he has some time. However, once his Saturn return hits, that's going to be like a wake-up call for him to start being more mature, to start being more responsible, and to start being more disciplined. So time will tell, and his Saturn return could actually land him into some hot water if he doesn't get his act straightened out, if he doesn't get his act together within the next couple of years. So he has about 2 years before this Saturn return. And Saturn return can bring the pain. It can open up a can of whoop ass on you because Saturn is the disciplinarian. Saturn is the great taskmaster. It teaches you hard lessons. But through those hard lessons, hopefully you can grow and you can mature and you can reach a higher station in life. So peace, many blessings. And also, if you would like a reading, you can visit my website at rabina.com. And like I said, going to be putting out some more videos soon. The next video in the Dark Side of Zodiac recap series will be Dark Side Capricorn, male and female. Peace and many blessings.